Hey everyone, this is Bobby here with StockView. I'm back again to talk about credit cards, but this week is specifically dedicated to my business owners. My business owners doesn't really necessarily matter what kind of business you're in. You could be in content creation, you could be an Uber driver, you could be a nail tech, doesn't necessarily matter. If you have around 2K in expenses, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what other business owners are leveraging in order to maximize the value on the expense that they actually have for their business. And what that actually means is that for every dollar that you're spending, I want you to get rewarded. And I'm going to show you what business owners like yourselves are getting rewarded for and how they're getting rewarded. So immediately what I want to do is I want to take you over to the Capital One page, and I'll show you that this page is pretty well laid out and thought out, but it's just not necessarily thought out in the sense of relative to other cars out there, right? So it doesn't really stack up against other cars. It doesn't really show you the value. It doesn't really like pop out to you. So this is one of the reasons why the credit card listing page was kind of developed in order to compare apples to apples, right? So 2x miles, 150,000 mile bonus, and $300 annual travel credit. What you'll see is that for each one of these descriptions, there's a little number next to them. So you'll see 1, 2, and 3. And all that really means in blatant term is there is a catch-22. At the bottom of the page, you'll see that. Again, the point being is that it doesn't immediately point out to you. So what we've done is we already did that work for you because we're well researched and partnering with these brands, right? So we know these cards in and out in order to really like digest the information and redistribute that right back out to you guys so you can make better informed decisions. All right, so coming back over to the credit card listing page. The credit card listing page can be found in our membership. The credit card directory basically is helping you kind of understand what are no-brainer credit cards. No-brainer credit cards are really credit cards that have more value than its annual fee, and I'll show you exactly what that means. So in terms of the annual fee in this bucket D right here, you'll see that there are many different annual fees in there, right? So there's $95 and you'll see there's up to $695, and that's a really big gap, and it may sound pretty intimidating because that's a lot of money, right? $695 is not, chump change. So that basically is non-relative to anything, right? So what we did was we basically took all of the different benefits of each credit card and basically put a value on there. So once you value all of those benefits, you get an aggregated value, and then you can match that to the annual fee. And for instance, right, this video in particular, we're going to talk about the Capital One Venture X business. And folks like, yourselves, if you drive an Uber, if you're a barber, if you're a nail tech, if you're an artist, really, if you have any type of expenditures, you're spending a lot of money per month and overall within the year, this is a credit card that you're going to want to look at because, again, this is really popular amongst other business owners. I'm going to show you the reasons why. So immediately what I want to do is I want to show you the first benefit. The first benefit, it will give you 150,000 bonus miles when you first sign up. This is typically called the sub or a sign up bonus. This is not, this is pretty standard across the industry, right? This is not something new. Most providers out there are actually giving sign up bonuses. Some may be a little bit higher than others, and I'll show you different ways on how you can actually maximize that welcome bonus, because sometimes you could get a welcome bonus of X at this place, but Y at this place. X may be lower, Y might be higher, right? So I can definitely show you one of those examples in a different video. But the point being is, going back to the website, I was mentioning that 150,000 bonus miles, like what is it relative to? How do you know it's actually high or not? So just want to base it back off of the personal card, which we went over last week, the Venture X personal card. You'll get 75,000 bonus miles with a $4,000 spend within the first 3 months. Now, if you come back over to this welcome bonus, you'll get 150,000 bonus miles for a $30,000 spend within the first 3 months. Now, the bonus is 2x, right? You'll get 2 times from the amount of the personal card, but in terms of the spend, you actually have to spend about 8 times more. So you would think that it would stack up, pretty equivalent. It wouldn't be 8x the spend, but it would also be 8x the bonus miles as well too, right? If you get my thinking. So in terms of how does that stack up, to me, I would like to see this bonus mile to be a little bit higher in my opinion. But nonetheless, what we're going to do for each one of these benefits is value it. And I'm going to start off with valuing this benefit, right? So this benefit we have a calculator over here to kind of really conceptualize how much value you're going to get. And this is per dollar, or per mile, I should say. So in terms of the quantity, right, we value each one of Capital One's miles as 1 cent. And I can get into further why it's actually valued at 1 cent. But nonetheless, for the purposes of this video, 150,000 miles would equal $1,500. I do want to point out that the sign up bonus is a one-time thing. So once you sign up, you complete this within the first 3 months. That's it, right? You'll get those bonus miles, but you won't get it reoccurring. These other benefits below are reoccurring. Just want to point that out. So the next benefit is the annual credit. You'll get an annual credit of $300, and that annual credit is specifically leveraged within Capital One Travel Portal. Capital One Travel Portal is a bit interesting. I'm going to list out 3 different reasons why I find this is actually a bit interesting. So the Capital One Portal, if you go in there, you'll realize that Capital One doesn't necessarily have every single brand and partnership available out there in the space, right? So essentially what that means is that when you're looking at the Capital One portal may not have availability, or they may not have, the exact brands that you're looking for. Specifically, if you're going to a place, for instance, Montenegro or Greece, or pretty much, any non-really popular destinations out there, you may not have availability for that one specific brand that you may be looking for, right? So if you're looking at like a Google Flights per se, and you'll see like certain hotels pop up there, but you don't see that in the Capital One portal, that's the reason why. Number 2 is availability. So because, again, piggybacking off the partnerships, there are certain businesses out there that have exclusive relationships with these vendors, right? So they're exclusively blocking off different time slots and availability that you can actually book, right? So the availability, when you look on the wider internet, you may not be able to find that within the Capital One portal. And for instance, an example of that would be, you're looking at, let's just say March 28th through April 5th per se, right? You may not have that same availability within the Capital One portal. And lastly, because different vendors have different relationships and contractual obligations with each other, the Capital One portal may have a different price than the wider internet. The wider internet, for instance, if you're looking at a Google Flights or Google Hotel, you may see that the prices may be a little bit lower, and you may see Capital One's travel portal may be a little bit higher. So those are 3 examples of how the Capital One travel portal is great, but it also could be limited as well too for your benefit. So sometimes you may not be able to maximize your total benefit. And I've taken that into account. If you look below here as well too, we actually will apply discounts to that. So again, if you are interested in this annual $300 credit, you'll get that annualized. So every single year, it will come back to you. So that $300 credit, we're actually going to discount that a bit, because we feel like there is some work needed, and also there isn't much flexibility, and also those 3 different disadvantages that we mentioned there as well too. So we applied a 15% discount. At 15% discount minus the $300 credit, we'll value this at $255. 10K bonus miles for the anniversary of your card. So once you're issued a card, it'll reoccur every single year post that date, right? So 10,000 bonus miles, put that into this calculator up here. We value that at $100. The next value, next benefit, I should say, benefit, value, same thing. Next benefit is 10x miles on hotels. This is going to vary widely amongst the folks that are watching this video, right? Like some folks may be really high spenders and some folks may not. So what this green category over here allows you to really like put in your own value, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to standardize it based off a guess, right? I'm going to guess that all of you guys are spending $1,000 on hotels and rental cars. That $1,000 times 10x on those miles, I'm going to get 10,000 miles. So I'll value that also at $100. When you're looking at this, you also have to take into account that you have to book this within the Capital One portal as well too. So it's a limitation. So if you did want to discount that, I would actually put $85 in there. 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One travel portal. You see that this is very much Capital One asking you to stay within their ecosystem. Think of like Apple has you buying their Apple products such as MacBook, iPad, and then obviously iCloud to store all the things, iMessage, etc. Capital One is very much the same. They want you in their ecosystem. They want you leveraging all of their products. Want you leveraging their system and stay on their website as much as possible. So again, I'm just going to toss out a number, right? I will say like $1,000 on flights per annum. Again, if you don't necessarily believe that $1,000 is spent, you can either add or subtract that, and then put that valuation within your own bucket here, right? So 5x on flights times $1,000 is 5,000. Now I'm going to put that in as a little bit of a discount because again I have to book this in the Capital One portals, which is a little bit of a disadvantage. So I'll put a little bit of a discount. 2x miles everywhere else. Now, this is where this credit card really stands out because 2x miles on anything else literally means anything else. 2x miles on, let's just say, whatever your annualized spend is, that adds up really quickly. Let's just say your business is pumping out, I don't know, $2,000 a month, right? So at the end of the year, $24,000 altogether, $24,000, it adds up super quickly, especially if you add any authorized users to this card as well too for your business. I'm just going to put, you guys spend $24,000 because you're spending $2,000 a month, so 24,000 times 2 is 48,000 miles. So I'll put that in as $480, and you'll see that this annual fee is $395. If your business is spending about $2,000 a month, you'll see that this credit card is a no-brainer, right? I would always pay for something that brings me more than what I'm actually paying for. It's just absolutely a no-brainer, right? Okay. And again, if you felt like, I don't know, it needed a discount per se, you wanted to discount it 50%, you could do that, right? If you wanted to do that for all of these, you could discount them. So Capital One lounges are super sweet, but they're super limited. Just want to point that out. So globally speaking, there's only 7, and actually, funny enough, Capital One lounges are actually only based in America, specifically North America. The priority passes is what supplements that. So yes, it is global in nature, but the Capital One lounges or Capital One branded lounges are specifically only domiciled within the United States. So just pointing that out. With pairing that with the priority parts, yes, you also get global access, but nonetheless, if you look at a larger provider such as American Express or Chase, those providers are much more global in nature and have a ton more availability. For instance, American Express has upwards of 30 different lounges, whereas Capital One only has 7. Nonetheless, you get 2 free guests. That is amazing because the incumbents in the space, or I should say the incumbent in the space, American Express, does not allow that. To put that in retrospect, you need about a $75,000 spend in order to get complimentary guest access. That is not the case with Capital One, which is a plus, and I'll give that to them. However, again, the quality, I don't necessarily want to compare that to other providers, but that's another video, and I can definitely dive deep into that and some of the messages that I've read throughout Reddit per se and my own experiences. I would say for airports, if you're going to an airport, you're going to spend at least $30 on a meal, and because you have 2 guests with you, I would say make that $90. So if you're going once a quarter, so $90 times 4, I think that adds up pretty quickly. In terms of if you're not necessarily going to the airport that often, then this credit card probably isn't for you in a sense, because it is kind of labeled as a travel credit card. There's definitely different ones out there that can also provide that 2x miles on everything else and not provide specifically benefits towards traveling, because again, we want to allocate the benefits to specifically what matches you, right? So So although again that 2x miles on everything else does look very attractive, just keep in mind if you're not a frequent flyer, you probably shouldn't be looking at a credit card that is specifically kind of made for business folks that are frequent flyers. Nonetheless, I'm going to put in value of, let's just call it $360, and I'll also call this $360 as well too. Premier Collection Hotels is really, really great. What you do is you go into the travel portal, and essentially what you do is you book your hotel and you'll get a $100 credit back. This is very standard within the industry. I would say American Express has something similar called Fine Hotel and Resorts credit. And so it's comparable. The credit on their side is a little bit higher relative to the credit on Capital One, but nonetheless, it's a credit. And the hotel collection that they do have, the partnerships that they have built, I would say they're pretty strong, and they also give you a really good selection of hotels that you can select from. So I will value this at the full $100. Now, the free authorized users, this is a super interesting perk, and I want to point out this is where this card really has a huge lift, and I really credit, pun intended, I really credit Capital One for this, because Capital One essentially is allowing you to hand out a credit card to each one of your LPs or GPs, partners per se, and then also any of the associates that you have within your entity, right? So because credit card annual fees, they add up pretty quickly, right? So again, this credit card has a $395 annual fee. Imagine you had 10 employees and you needed to hand them 10 cards, right? That could add up pretty quickly. $395 times 10, it's a lot of money, right? You're looking at thousands of dollars. Now, on the contrary, right, because you're able to give out all these credit cards, you're able to, accumulate points, thinking that they are going to spend whatever that matches that 2x category. That adds up really, really quickly. On the opposite end is that the card only has really that kind of perk to it as an authorized user. The primary user is the one that gets all of the benefits, meaning that the travel credit, the TSA pre-check, the anniversary bonus is only dedicated to the primary user, right? The authorized user doesn't have access to any of those. So if you're a business owner and you're okay with the employees or any partners that you have to only exclusively use the card to gain you more points in that 2x category, yes, this card is absolutely for you. If you're the opposite, you want your employees or you want the partners of your firm in order to have the same exact benefits, I want to stop you in your tracks. This card's not for you. I just want to quickly point that out. I'll value it at, let's call it $100. For the $120 credit global entry, again, only for the primary user, this is super helpful, especially if you're a frequent flyer as well too. If you've seen the theme of this credit card, it is for flyers. TSA and global entry, they only charge once per every 4 years. So effectively, you're looking at a $30 net annualized, because again, that $120 divided by 4 will net you $30. So we are looking at this in annualized terms. If you look at the total of all of the benefits combined together, you're looking a lot higher than what the annual fee is. This is immediately a no-brainer. And just to kind of recap, I am not including this. The sign-up bonus minus the aggregated value is $1,900, which is still 3x higher than what the annual fee is. So no-brainer in my opinion. I would absolutely go ahead and sign up for this card. If you disagreed with any of the valuations in here, what you can do is you can go in here and value it yourself, and you can add a discount to what we applied, or you could just literally type in your fresh numbers in there as well too. But nonetheless, applying a 50% discount, we still see that $534 is a lot higher than $395. And of course that some of these buckets are nil. Just want to point out that there is extraordinary value with the Capital One Venture X business card, especially if it matches the criteria that we were talking about within this video, right? So if you're a business owner and you are checking a lot of these boxes, I want you to go ahead and click this link. Every one of the credit cards within this credit card directory has a link back to our page. So StockView has a credit card listing page. It lists out the most popular or whatever our audience has really specifically access to cover. So we kind of break down the benefits to just show you a high level of what they are. And then we also show you what the recommended credit score should be. And then we can also take you over to the page where you can either have a soft apply or a hard inquiry as well too. So if you wanted just to see if you're pre-approved, you could do that. And if you just wanted to, take the dive and actually go apply for the credit card, you could do that as well too. If there are any other credit cards that you want us to specifically point out and you didn't see any within the credit card listing page that actually kind of like popped out, just feel free to comment below and give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next week for the next credit card. Thank you guys.